feel free to let me know. So, welcome. I am Lauren Gay, also known on the internet as the Outdoorsy Diva. And this webinar today, we're going to talk about slow travel, what it is, how it's beneficial, how I got started doing it. A main component of that I think brought most people here was about house sitting and how to do that and how I got started with that. So we're definitely going to touch on that. And I will share a couple of other resources as well for you uh, at the end. So our key takeaways, why slow travel is beneficial, tips about house sitting, and also other types of remote workcation options as well. So, for those of you who don't know me or are just getting to know me, I am the creator of Misadventures of an Outdoorsy Diva blog at outdoorsydiva.com and also an online content creator where I share about adventure travel, particularly to women and Black women, where I encourage us to get outside, step out of our comfort zone, embrace nature as therapy, and break down those barriers doing the things that society and people say that we don't do because we do everything. But I am not exclusive, but inclusive. That's just my focus and target audience that I had in mind when I started, because I started based on what I needed. But I have amassed at this point over 50,000 followers across all of my social platforms of all types of people, both men and women. And it's been a great ride. I started my blog in 2013, really got serious about it in 2014 as a single mom looking for fun things to do with my son, which led me to the outdoors. So right now, I talk more about being an empty nester, which leads into how I got into slow travel, into more of the luxury side of travel than the roughing it, just because as I'm getting up there in age, I like nicer things and roughing it is less appealing to me. I am a regular on-air talent for Great Day Live Tampa Bay every month, also on the Rick Rollins show that airs on YouTube, Going Places. I'm a freelance travel writer for many publications, a consultant, an adventure coach, a photographer, and a public speaker. So, welcome. And this is just a purview to give you an idea of who I am, some of the things that I like to do. And finding slow travel has definitely been a way to allow me to do these things and have these adventures that I like to have even more. So, what is slow travel? If you Google that online, you'll find all types of definitions. But for our purposes of this discussion today, I'm going to define slow travel as intentionally setting a slower pace while traveling by staying in one destination for an extended amount of time and having less planned activities in your day. And that doesn't mean you stay in one destination for the whole trip, but you're not hopping like every day, you're in a different place, you have this fast pace. I think, especially as Westerners, as Americans, we already know we don't get the same amount of time off that a lot of other countries allow their workers to have. So when it comes to our mindset and the way that we travel, we tend to like go, 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 right? We tend to do things based on family events when we travel. We travel around holiday weekends, try to get in a long weekend, but we don't get, the long holiday, as you'll hear Europeans and Brits say, where they're gone for a month. So many people don't use their vacation time. They will roll over weeks and weeks and weeks of time. And so our lifestyle generally as Americans doesn't allow for us to have the option to do slow travel where we can say, okay, I'm gonna go and be in Spain for the month. Like most people can't do that. But With the emergence of remote work, being able to work from anywhere, that has become more of a reality for far more people. And I currently a remote worker. I've been a partial remote worker really for my whole career. I started off having 1 day a week. In my day job, I work in IT. So I've always had the option to have like 1 day a week where I could work from home. But now I work 100% remote. I was actually doing that even before we got into the pandemic. And I love it. And I don't see me going back into the office at all for any reason. No desire. I will be kicking and screaming for them to get me back into somebody's office on a day to day basis. So that is what slow travel is for the purposes of this discussion. So I'm going to pause right here and just see if we have anybody in the wait room. I don't see anybody at the moment. Okay. This thing is just going completely the wrong way. So, group question, you can put it for us in the chat. Why, now that you know what slow travel is, I would like to hear from you. Have you done it? And why is it beneficial or appealing to you? So let's see some of your answers in the chat. And if you haven't done it before, that's fine. But I would love to know why it appeals to you. You know, what drew you in? Why'd you want to learn more in this webinar? Okay, so we have one person who has never done it, but you work 100% remote now, so it's way more appealing. Absolutely. Can we get one more on why this is appealing to you? It appeals to me because I love to travel and I work remote. And one day you desire to live in another country. Excellent. And that's definitely something that we're going to touch on. We got one more. I travel on occasion, but I wouldn't say it was slow travel, but I do like doing things at more of a leisurely pace. Excellent. So we're in the right place. We're all in the same frame of mind when it comes to really what we're looking for. So the perks of slow travel, when we define it this way, you know, as being able to go to a place to spend more time, you're not trying to cram everything into just 3 or 4 days. You know, you can go somewhere for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or a month or a few months. You get a chance to make more meaningful connections. So I'll give you an example of that. When I did a house sit this summer, I went to Tunbridge in the UK, which is a town in Kent, maybe a 30-minute train ride from London. So it's really kind of the suburbs, if you will, because people commute who work in the city in London every day. And what was really nice was getting up before I start my work day, take the dog for a walk. We walk down to the center of town. We go in the coffee shop, stop in, get my almond croissant and my London fog tea. And every day you had people, you know, greeting me, saying hello, getting to know me, expecting me every day, like, oh, what are you, Linus? Linus was the dog. I was dog sitting. You know, what are you getting up to today? You know, having somebody in the pharmacy recognize you and make dinner recommendations for you, you know, some people that just getting to know the people, getting immersed, really living as a local. You really get a chance to do that when you spend an extended amount of time in one place and staying with where people live versus just being in a hotel. So that is one, I think, perk of doing slow travel. Another is the opportunity for immersion in another culture or in another environment. So, as I said, especially if you go to another country, you have that opportunity to get more immersed in their culture. But even if you do it domestically, the United States is so vast and so varied, and people really do live differently and have different experiences than what we have when you go somewhere else. So, for me, coming from living in Florida for most of my life, I grew up in Texas, came here as a teenager, going to stay, being in the Pacific Northwest for 2 weeks, totally different environment, totally different vibe. Seeing, how they do things, how they live, being in Seattle. So even that, even though it's still America, it was still a cultural immersion of sorts. Another perk, the opportunity to truly rest. When we are on vacation, we are go, go, go. We trying to see as much as we can see, to pack it all in the days that we have, the time that we have. We don't want to waste our money, don't want to waste our time. So you might have tours booked all every day and you just got something to do every day. With slow travel, the idea is that you don't have to do that. You literally, because you're not pressed for time, you're not pressed for trying to cram things in. So you have plenty of leisurely days of you just do nothing. You log in, you do some work, you go get some lunch, you might have a dinner, and you just relax, go for a walk. Yes, you can still pack in those interesting things you like to do and see, do some touristy things, but you don't have to do them all at once and in such a rush and with that pressure. Excuse me. And finally, and this is what we touched on that in one of your answers, this is a great way to preview if you think you would like to live in a particular place. So for me, when I started this journey, I originally thought I would be relocating to the DMV, Washington, D.C. area. And, things happened and that was no longer my plan. But with my son not living with me, I was like, well, I've never really had an opportunity to choose a different place to live, to choose where I would like to live. So this is a great opportunity to do that. I should take advantage of this. And I'm going to go to places that A, have some place that I want to see, B, somewhere that I think I might potentially want to live. And so that is what I based the top cities that I did for this initial summer on. So it is a great way. I mean, you really can't get any better because you're going to be staying in a neighborhood with the people and you have time to go and see them and you'll see it at different times. You won't just see it, in the daytime or during the holidays or during a festival or during an event when it may be, you know, one way when there's an event going on, but it's a totally different vibe when it's just regular day to day. So this is absolutely a great way to do that, to get a feel for a place and see like, hey, could I see myself living here? We've got someone said they saw my stories while I was there. That's awesome. And I really tried to, I wanted to share, but I also wanted to be present. And so it was a hard balance because there was just so many things and behind the scenes fun things to share. So, but now we get to talk about, yay, house sitting. So this is me. This is Teddy. Teddy was my first official house sitting client, though I had had some unofficial clients before him. Teddy was my Denver house sit, and he's just a sweet little old man, Cocker Spaniel. And over here is Mr. Linus, who was the Tunbridge UK sit. And he is just a doll. And if you're curious, yes, I so far keep up with quite a few of my house sitting clients. We've become friends. They are like, their house is open to me anytime. They still send me pics of the dogs to let me know how they're doing. So we'll start with, how I got started into house sitting. So I learned about house sitting through another content creator named Stephanie Perry. And Stephanie's been house sitting for, I think, like 8 years all over the world. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. I've known that she was doing this for at least 3 years now. But I don't know, it was just something about it that was really daunting to me. I didn't know it was something I could actually do. But now that I was in a position where, okay, I work remote, so that's the first barrier that was eliminated. My son wasn't here. He has the dog, so I don't really have anything tying me to a place. So why not? Like, let's give this a try. So I decided this was the summer to do it. I actually bought her house sitting school course, which is one of the references that I'll give you at the end if you're interested in that. And it walked me through what to do and how to get started. So that is how I got started with house sitting. So I absolutely love it. I have done 5 official, when I say official, meaning through an agency using a site. I've done 5 official house sits that way. But prior to that, I had actually done house sitting for friends who live out of town. I have a couple of friends in Atlanta who I've house sat for, down in Miami. So if you have friends or family, you may have actually already done it. And that was how I got my first references. So I loved it. I love the ability to be in a place for a long time. Sometimes I rented a car, sometimes I didn't. That's one of the things that you have to ask and figure out as you are making your arrangements. Is this place somewhere that is commute friendly where I can use public transportation and Ubers and Lyfts and walk? Or is it somewhere where it's better for me to have a car, or there's a ton of places you want to see, so you rent a car? So for me, going to Denver, I absolutely knew I wanted to get out and explore, go on hikes, get up into the mountains, things like that. So I knew I was going to need to rent a car for that. But I didn't need a car for any of the sits in the UK, for Wales or for Tunbridge. I didn't need a car for Seattle, except for the second half of that trip. I did have a car for that. So it just depends on where you are and what you're going to be doing as to whether or not that's going to matter. So I love it. And I love it because let's state the obvious. So you're not paid to do it through the site that I use. We will talk about some other sites that offer different options, but generally speaking, the ideal setup is that you're using one of the companies where it is set up as a barter. And so essentially, it's like dating, but for house sitting. Most of these people are pet owners and they are pet sits. Doesn't have to be, but that is why most people want someone to stay in their home while they're away, is because they have pets. You can absolutely be picky about the kind of pets you're willing to watch. For me, I'll only do dogs, fish, small pets like rabbits, hamsters, gerbils, things like that. Guinea pigs, I'm fine with. I'm allergic to cats, so I won't do cats. Not into the reptiles, so I don't choose those. They even have livestock. People have chickens, they have goats. They have all kinds of needs, and so you can tailor your profile to fit what you're comfortable with. So that is the biggest perk of this, is that you get a free place to stay and they get someone to watch their pet for free. Because if you're not familiar, hire a pet sitter. I'm a pet owner. I know it is expensive. It's very expensive to board your animal or to hire someone to go to their home and things like that. It can be very costly. So that is the major benefit. And then some of the unspoken benefits, if you've got a great homeowner, they go above and beyond for you because they're just really grateful and they want to make you feel welcome. So a lot of my house sits, one of them they were on an island in Seattle that overlooked the water. They had a hot tub that sat outside on the deck. They left me bottles of wine, When I got there, they knew I was tired from traveling, so they had ordered in food, and it was enough food for me to have like something to eat for the next few days. So I didn't have to go to the store. I had one house sitter who reached out, I mean, one homeowner who reached out before my house sit to ask me my preferences. She wanted to order groceries for me to make sure when I got there, I wouldn't have to go out immediately and I would have what I need. And so when I got there, she had stocked the fridge with things that I told her that I liked. I had another one who actually cooked a meal for me to welcome me so that I would have a meal when I arrived because she knew, I was going to have a long day of travel. And things like that. So the Denver house sit, they were so sweet. They had company right before I got there, and then they were all heading on this trip together. But they had ordered a whole honey baked ham. She's like, "We left you a whole ham. I bought you bread, and there's condiments. Please eat this ham." But most people are gonna tell you you're welcome to whatever, help yourself to anything. And so that's a definite nice perk. And depending on the home that you've chosen, you may have, a beautiful garden. I love to pick homes that have nice gardens and landscapes to enjoy, nice backyards or close to a park and things like that. I also I also love just the joy of helping other travelers. I'm so passionate about travel and people seeing the world. So it just feels good that knowing that me going to stay in their home is freeing them up so that they can go enjoy their trip, not worry about their home, not worry about, their fur baby while they're away. And also for me, fills a void as an empty nester mom. It gives me something to take care of. Also keeps me occupied, so I'm not worried about what my son is doing because I'm out traveling and having fun. Um, it is a great way to embrace slow travel. You can find house sits as short as a day or two to multiple months because people do take extended trips. So it's definitely allowed me to embrace slow travel because, not having to worry about paying for accommodation. I think that's probably the biggest barrier to why a lot of people don't do extended, longer trips because it's expensive to have to pay to stay somewhere for 2, 3, 4 weeks at a time. Even though, sites like VRBO and Airbnb, they do offer short-term rental type of options. And so that is a way that you could slow travel, but it's definitely a bit on the costly side. And then the last thing is just meeting awesome people, making new friends. As I've said, I stay in touch with quite a few of my house sitting clients, and I've just met some really, really nice, decent, good human beings. And I think that connection with other humans is why I love travel. So this is definitely, if you're open to it, it can be a benefit for you. So the tips, how can you get started? So I recommend using a reputable company. You can absolutely arrange house sits, on your own, but the benefit of using companies like trusted house sitters, like Mind My House, House Carers, House Sitters America. The benefit of using companies like this, number one, is that they have a framework already that allows for you to be able to see houses that are available and then for them to see you as the sitter and you're available, see where your criteria is and things like that. I've only personally used so far the Trusted House Sitters site. Um, I am planning to sign up possibly for House Sitters America next, and maybe House Carers too. They all do have some type of membership fee. Trusted House Sitters is on the more expensive side, but they also offer the most in terms of what you get for your annual membership. So with Trusted House Sitters, it's an annual membership. It's about 100 and I want to say $69 a year for the middle tier um, membership. And I do have a discount code if you go to my Instagram, but I also send an email when I send you the recording. But you can get a discount for that membership when you sign up. But you pay this annual fee, and what that gives you is access to all of the sites. They do a background check and an identity verification on you. They do a criminal background check. They give you the company that they use so that you can know what's being done, who's doing it, who has your information. It's not done through trusted house sitters. They're using a verified third party to do that background check. It also allows you to read reviews of the homeowner. So reviews are left on you as the sitter, but you can also leave reviews on the sit. So you'll know if the home was clean, if they communicated well, it gives you just a little bit more warm and fuzzy in terms of your safety and what you're getting into because you're going to someone's home. So those are some of those benefits. It does bond and insure you up to a certain amount, depending on the which membership level you choose. It can also, the top tier level has a cool benefit of covering accommodation for you if you got stranded. So let's say you booked a house sit in Portugal, you bought a plane ticket, flew to Portugal, and they canceled on you, which would be total grounds for them to possibly be removed from the site. But that doesn't mean anything to you in the midst of that happening, right? So if you were on your own, then you would have to scramble and try to find somewhere to stay and find another sit possibly. With that benefit, trusted house sitters will arrange and cover your accommodations in the event that something like that happened. And usually it's more so like an emergency or something happened, but that is a nice benefit to using them as well. Uh, so a tip. So once you choose which company you're going to go with, you want to have an awesome profile because it's competitive. It's very competitive, especially with a larger site like Trusted House Sitters. That's why some of the smaller sites are a little bit better because they're a little bit less trafficked. But it can be very competitive, especially for really sought after destinations like, Tulum, Mexico City. Most destinations in Mexico go like within minutes of them being posted. Uh, so you want to have a profile that shows that you're responsible and that you can be trusted. For me, I leaned into the fact that I'm a mom. I mean, so I know how to keep a house. I know how to keep things alive, right? But you kind of let them know your personality. Um, and just showing them that you're trustworthy. If it's a pet sit, you want to show that you love animals. You can add pictures to your profile. You definitely want to have tons of pictures so they can see you in your element, see that you're also a traveler, see that you like animals. And once you get your profile, so you'll have a profile that they'll view, then you're also going to have like a template for applying. So once you see a sit, you'll apply for it. You don't want to have to retype that all over again every single time. So you want to create a template once you get a nice, good template that's basically detailing, who you are, that you're available to do the sit for the dates that they have. You want to call their pets by name to show you've read their listing. You want to tell them why you want to sit for them, tell them why they can trust you, why you're trustworthy, and just showing them that. Throw in details from, there's a section in their listing that will tell you what their requirements are, what their ask is in terms of your duties while you're there. So just mentioning things like that. I only tweak a few things for each time I apply, but I don't ever have to rewrite the entire thing. But once you have a profile that works, you're going to get booked just like that. And I did learn this through doing that house sitter school, and it absolutely works. References and reviews are the most important part of your profile. So, of course, when you're starting, You won't have references within the app, but it allows you to upload external references. So for me, I just used friends who I had actually done house sitting with before, and I had them leave references for me. And those were good enough to get the first sit under my belt. And every time you want to make sure you ask them to review you, let them know this helps you get your other sits, and they're usually more than happy to do that for you promptly. Be flexible with your destination. As I said, it can be a little competitive. If you're flexible about where you're going and your dates, then the more options you'll find. Trusted House Sitters has a great search feature that lets you save a search. So I have searches saved for a certain date range and maybe a certain location. That way I get notified as soon as the sit goes up. The earlier that I see the sit, the better my chance because I'm one of the first applicants to apply. And then lastly, you want to communicate. If you say you're going to send them a picture of their pet every day, do that. If you say you're going to call them at a certain day, a certain time based on their time zone, you want to do that. That's going to go a long way, but you want to make sure that you communicate. And then stating the obvious, you're staying in someone's home, so treat it like your home. You want them to come back to their home the same way that they found it. So this is a snippet of my profile. So Lauren, empty nester for a mom with lots of love to give. It shows that I've done all of my verifications, my 5-star reviews. It actually allowed me to link my Airbnb profile, which is pretty cool because I did have a significant number of positive Airbnb reviews about me as a guest. So that also just shows them you know how to go into someone's home and stay and they don't have to worry about it. This is the beginning of me telling them about, my experience and things like that. And here, I have photos. Think it lets you put like a lot, like maybe 12 photos or something like that. So I chose a good mixture of me, smiling, traveling, but definitely pictures of me with animals so that they could see I'm good with pets. Most dogs love me almost immediately. And that's probably been the biggest compliment every time. They're always like, oh, my dog doesn't usually warm up this fast. But they tend to gravitate to me like right away. In terms of how it works logistically, I've had sits where I never met them in person. We video chatted to arrange that we thought we were a match. I'd never accept to sit without doing a video chat. That's mandatory for me. I prefer that they do it in their home. That way I can see their home and see that it matches the photos. But I never do one without a video chat. So we video chat, get to know each other. And then I did have a sit where she just left me the key under the mat. She was fine with that. But I've had others where they asked me to come the day before, and they were flying out like in the middle of the night, and I was also fine with that. Um, there's some where I just showed up, right before they needed to leave. So it just depends on what you're both comfortable with, and you can agree on those terms as you work out the actual logistics of the sit. So this is what Trusted House Sitters website actually looks like. So it does have a map, which is really handy because it kind of shows you what your options are in terms of what's available in different locations. So with this one, you can see that it tells you, number one, it'll tell you if there's low applications. It will also tell you if it is a last minute sit. Last minute sits are gold mines because they need somebody right away. And so if you're first for those, you're likely going to get it because they don't have time to sift through tons and tons and tons of applications. They want to find somebody good, book it, and be done with it. So this is what it looks like. And then once you click into it, you'll see details. If we have time at the end and you want to actually see the website, I might share my screen and drill down into one for you, but you get the gist. So, the major things to consider, nothing's a perfect scenario, but safety is the number one thing, right? So, while there is a background check on you as the sitter, there's not a background check currently on the homeowners. The homeowners do have to pay a fee to join for trusted house sitters. As I research the others, the homeowners do not pay a fee. To me, that's a bit of a deterrent because I feel like they're more apt to possibly cancel on you, or not follow through or not take it seriously or be a little sketchy. I feel like if you spent almost $200 on a service, you're more than likely legit. I don't think you're paying $200 because you want to lure people over to kidnap them. You know what I mean? So I think having one that also has the homeowners have to pay something, I think goes a long way for your safety. You absolutely want to read the reviews if they have them. You always want to do the video chat. You want to get, their complete legal name, and information, address, all of that. That way you can go online and use, there are kind of like crime watch sites and things like that. So you can get a better idea of a neighborhood and what you're walking into. Um, there are devices that you can order on Amazon that detect if there's a recording device in a home. So if you're worried about a nanny cam or anything like that, I ask them to disclose if they have one. So far, no one has said they have one, and I haven't come in contact with one. But if that's something you're concerned about, you can buy something, and it'll tell you if there's a device like that in the vicinity. But trust your instincts first and foremost, trust your gut. I did have one, where it just didn't feel right to me. There was something about the guy that was just kind of sketch for me and I didn't like it. I personally don't tend to like sits where it's like a one bedroom because that means I got to sleep in your bed. And I would prefer where they have a second room, where it's a guest room or something like that. It is just my personal preference. But up to you, but do what you feel comfortable with. When it comes to, the other thing with safety, you also want to make sure you ask them to let their neighbors know. Do your neighbors know that you have a stranger coming to your home, because you don't want anybody calling the police on you or things like that? Usually they will provide like a welcome packet for you with instructions, house quirks, all those kinds of things. And more often than not, they're going to list their neighbor's information and phone number because there'll be a resource to help you if you need it. But if they don't, you can definitely ask for that. Um, just you have to consider, can you be comfortable in another person's home? If you're starting and you're concerned, I would suggest start with something local, do a staycation. I've actually done a couple of them right here in the Bay Area, and just because they were really nice homes. That's great because that way you can fulfill the duties of the home sit, but know that like home is close by. So if they have an animal, they just need to be let out first thing in the morning and you don't want to spend the night, because it didn't feel right or whatever, you can still fulfill your obligations of what you have to do. You can be in the home during the day, let their dog out, take them for a walk, things like that, but not necessarily sleep there, until you kind of get acclimated and you feel comfortable. Legal matters. So, as I said, with trusted house sitters, it does come with some level of insurance or personal liability, accidents, things like that. They also have a vet hotline. You may want to look into your own personal liability policy. If it's something, once you kind of decide this is something you want to do long term, then the biggest, I guess, controversy right now within the community is around work visas when it comes to other countries. So technically, it is not work because you're not exchanging money, just on the very basis of what we define as paid work. But certain countries can absolutely see that difference and have a different um, thought about that or requirement about that. And so this is something that you will want to do some research on if you're going to look into doing this internationally. When it comes to the length of time you can be in a country, on a travel visa and things like that, you want to know those rules. You want to make sure you're in compliance with that when you start looking at those long term sits, because you don't want to get deported or run into any of those kinds of legal matters or be banned from a country. So, something to consider. You are 100% responsible for yourself and for knowing the laws and abiding accordingly. So now that's it about house sitting. This brings us to our last topic, which is remote work options. Workcation is another trendy term in the industry, which is just another fancy way of saying, you know, working remotely from anywhere, which means you get to explore, but also get your work done. So, Remote Year is a program, not sure if you've heard of it before, that's very popular for remote workers or digital nomads. Uh, they set you up in certain cities and you have a guide and they have kind of this infrastructure to help you get started. They do have different levels of it. It can get really expensive if you select the option where they find accommodation for you. There is an option where you can find your own accommodations, but even then, I think you're paying like $600, $500 for the other benefits, which is the community, having a contact, getting plugged into the location. So if you want somebody to hold your hand when you do it, that's definitely an option that you can look into. Another one is house swapping. I don't know if y'all remember the movie. I think it was Holiday, The Holiday. That's what they did. They did a house swap. So Home Exchange is a really popular website for that, where you sign up. It does have an annual membership fee. You list your home, other people list their homes, and if the dates agree and your terms agree, you get to swap houses for a certain amount of time. That's certainly a viable way to look into having a remote workation. Another one that I recently found is called Outsite. I really like this setup. So, Outsite is a global networking of co living spaces, but these are not like dormitories. These are like nice, like mansion style homes that they have set up to where it's not like a hostel. Most of them have like an ensuite bathroom. You got your own bathroom, your own bedroom. You'll share like a common space. They have dedicated like work areas. You'll share a common kitchen. You do have a location manager and nice amenities and things like that. They all look really modern and nice. You can just book it individually. You don't have to join. You don't have to join their membership in order to do it. And they're all over. They are in the US and California, Mexico. They're growing pretty rapidly as far as locations. They have some in the Caribbean and Europe. So they're definitely worth checking out. I'm actually looking into Outside myself as an option to try it out. And cost wise, this is going to depend on the destination as to how cost effective it is. And I saw options that went by the week or by the month. So those are three kind of remote workation options you can look into. And as I said earlier, VRBO and Airbnb actually do offer short-term rental options if you search for it, if you want to just find your own accommodations for a location. So here are those additional resources that I told you about. Uh, House Sitter School. So this, she really, with Stephanie, it's a toolkit that she sells and she walks you through everything from setting up your profile. She provides a template for you your for your profile and then a template for your application as well. And it's all on video. And it really was a worthwhile resource. So if you're looking for something that's going to hold your hand and walk you step by step, House Sitter School is a great resource for that. If you have not yet secured remote work and you need help with becoming a remote worker, a friend of mine, Libria Jones, has Quit Commuting. She has some awesome resources that help you find more remote work options and how to find those jobs so that you can take advantage of this slow travel lifestyle. And then last but certainly not least is me. I am always a resource for you. If you want me to hold your hand and walk you through the process, I do provide one-on-one consulting, and you can book that one-on-one time with me at laurenrgay.com. So now, questions. Any questions for me? I don't see any in the chat. And if you want to come off mute to ask, that's fine.
Much easier. So I do have a question. I was going to ask about work visa versus using just a simple passport. Does that depend on the length of the stay?
That's going to depend on the rules of the country and what they consider to be work. Because, as I say, you're not